Russell Wilson listed as quarterback 1 on, of course, every team's got to put out these dopey unofficial depth charts before their preseason games. Wilson listed as 1, but Fields is going to start the preseason opener against the Texans.
I still think they're going to start Wilson, but, if they start Fields, so be it. Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I know this. I think they're both talented.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receiver, 7 bona fide pass targets. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
How about this? Game time decisions on a Monday. The 3P. Not noteworthy to any of you, but noteworthy to me. I haven't worked 3 straight days in quite some time. It's been a delightful August. We're going to be ramping things up here, baby, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling loose. It was arguably a sluggish Sunday, but now we're ready to rock and roll here on a Monday night. Full Major League Baseball board for the people. 6 different games that I'm involved with tonight, a couple of really good spots, and certainly key positions for us to take a look at when it comes to the wild card race. So that's where we're going to put a lot of focus tonight, but also the road to kickoff is still on. College football week 0 is on Saturday. Do not miss it. Blowout special, all the futures you need, plus full breakdowns of the 4 games, including a top 10 team in the country in Florida State making their debut overseas in Ireland against Georgia Tech. Could be myself, Kevin Walsh, of course, right here on SportsGrid with Joe Lisi and Ben Stevens on this Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to noon. We lead you right into kickoff for Florida State and Georgia Tech, so make sure that you are in the mix with us there. And the NFL will be right behind it, and there's going to be so much for us to get into following this futures market movement over the 2 preseason weeks as it pertains to what is going on with the quarterback position in Denver. Bo Nix looking favorable, likely going to get that starting job. The Atlanta Falcons certainly caught my eye with the decision to not play Michael Penix. NFL insider Adam Kaplan is out on the road right now and around this Falcons team. Curious what he's hearing about that. We're going to talk to him right here tonight on Game Time Decisions. But as I said, the wild card races are getting plenty of attention. In an hour, Craig Mish joins us live right here on Game Time Decisions. We'll ask him a little bit about the Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves, unfortunately, are having this nightmare second half from the injury perspective. They have started to put some more wins on the board, but the latest news is Austin Riley, one of the top hitters on this team, the third baseman with a right hand fracture, could be out 2 months. It's August. This means Austin Riley may not be good to go by the time we hit the postseason here in Major League Baseball, which is incredibly concerning. And as somebody who played the Braves at the All-Star break, it's just unfortunately gone terribly. This is not the only big injury that's happened, and I can't not just quickly say this team lost the NL Cy Young favorite in Spencer Strider and NL MVP favorite in Ronald Acuna Jr. early on this year. Since the break, they lose Austin Riley. They had the injury stuff with Ronaldo Lopez, and they've lost Ozzie Albies. Could these guys all be back for the postseason push? They can. The issue for the Atlanta Braves and Braves backers like myself is it's not like the Braves are in a situation in years past where they're 8, 9, 10 games clear of the division. Instead, this team in the Atlanta Braves has a bunch of baseball teams hot on their tail for the final wild card spot. Right now, Atlanta is 66-58 and taking spot in that third slot. Now, what's gone wrong for Atlanta is some of those injuries, but it's been red-hot baseball played by the San Diego Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks, though, just were swept by the Rays. They're also putting Ketel Marte on the IL. This race is going to be open, and I think it's appropriate that we have the Giants at 500 and even a below 500 team like the St. Louis Cardinals here. I know 5 back looks like a lot, 7.5 back of Arizona, 8.5 back of San Diego, but these wild card races are wild. I mean, it's within the name. And I think that all of these teams could very well still sneak on in here. But again, from a futures perspective, I'm hoping Atlanta is one of these 3. Let's look at the Padres game first here. They're playing the Minnesota Twins, and they're going up against Zebby Matthews, making his second start at the major league level. Minimal sample size, no doubt about it, but he was, in his opening game, a righty, and Zebby Matthews smashed by opposing lefties. Jackson Merrill, the stud rookie who's trying to challenge Paul Skeens for Rookie of the Year as a lefty, batting .318 this season against the right-handed pitchers that he has faced. Let's go over 1.5 hits, runs, RBI at -125 for Jackson Merrill tonight here. I don't mind anybody who plays some Louis Arise. And it's a legitimate bounce-back spot. He had a 3-game streak of multiple hits, snapped in his last outing where he went 0 for 5 at the dish, Arise. But he was a little more expensive. And since the Zebby Matthews sample size is so small, I mean, about as small as it can possibly be, I thought, let's go with a little bit of a cheaper option in Jackson Merrill at -125, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, the Arizona Diamondbacks are on the road, but a favorite once again against the Marlins. This is a key spot tonight. I want to shout it out. Donnie Rightside, DRS. You guys know what I think about Donnie when it comes to the baseball board. He's all over Arizona here. Aller, a former Oakland Athletic, gets to start here for the Miami Marlins in this game. Take a look at potentially some Diamondbacks tonight to certainly bring some runs in here against the Miami Marlins. The Giants are going to host the are going to host the Chicago White Sox. And I'm actually involved with the White Sox here. Took them plus a 1.5 at -110. But Jonathan Cannon is someone whose numbers have been a little bit better in the second half of the season. I know he was hit a little bit by the New York Yankees his last outing, but still, I think we're getting a nice number here at a 1.5. Kyle Harrison is not someone who strikes the fear of God into me, and we've seen Cannon be able to cover some of those run lines here, so that's what we're going to look for at a plus 1.5 number at -110 juice. Mets get involved with the Baltimore Orioles on this slate. Metsies favored with Peterson going here against the former Miami Marlin, Trevor Rogers, and if Trevor Rogers does not have a good start here, I really think that this Orioles team, I know that they need guys to eat innings, and for Baltimore, what the current rotation looks like will be different for the postseason. Man, Trevor Rogers cannot keep getting the baseball for a team that's in a race like the Orioles are when it comes to the American League East, and then that'll all of a sudden be erased with the American League wild card. Trevor Rogers has been atrocious really all year long, but it's been even worse, I feel, since he's joined the Baltimore Orioles. No Brandon Nimmo in the lineup tonight, which does take a little bit of pop out of there. Rogers is a lefty who's actually struggled with lefties, so no one really for me tonight on the Mets that qualified. Lindor, switch hitter, is going to hit from the right side. Jose Iglesias. There's guys who can hit left-handed pitching, but kind of looking for a double matchup there. Nothing that I found. Gunnar Henderson, though, has stayed very, very hot at the dish. We'll see if he keeps that up at Citi Field. Let's pull up your American League East standings here. We mentioned it with the Baltimore Orioles. Right now, they and the New York Yankees are both 73 and 52. The Yankees right now have a Clay Holmes problem. It's one of the more unique problems I've seen, I feel like, in Major League Baseball. How often does a team have an all-star closer who they just cannot continue to let close games? Clay Holmes has blown 10 saves. That's tied for a single-season New York Yankees record. And it has gotten to the point where I know they want to stand by this guy. You can't keep losing games this way. You can't drop a series to the Detroit Tigers. You lose that one yesterday in extras, and they shut the Tigers out the whole way, and then Clay Holmes comes in and gives it up. And people have talked about it. If Clay Holmes, again, it's not crazy to say, hey, Clay Holmes, can you only blow 5 saves up until this point of the season? Again, Clay Holmes, Emmanuel Clase has allowed 4 earned runs, period, all year long. Clay Holmes has blown 10 saves. You know how nuts that is? The Yankees, if he had blown less than half of those, you're talking about a 5-game lead on Baltimore. You're talking about the runaway favorite to win the American League East and then probably to win the American League. And instead, it just looks significantly different than where it should. And not all of it falls on Clay Holmes, but more than I think the Yankees are allowing themselves to realize. And it has the Yankees in the American League wildcard race with the Twins and the Royals. We mentioned the Twins are playing the Padres. We're going to get to the rest of this Major League Baseball slate, American League-wide, and we've got a best bet involving the Boston Red Sox matchup with the Houston Astros. That's next right here on SportsGrid.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Harry on the top. Right hand from my buddy, double champion. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
All right, we're back with you right here. It's Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh here on SportsGrid, Monday night style. Behind me, American League wildcard standings. I want to just make a quick point. At some point this week, I think I would love to just reset where any baseball futures that I have are, because I'd like to believe that means that some of you have those same numbers tonight or for the rest of the year. And within that, I'll also kind of mention some of the consideration spots that I have as far as big picture futures, and I'm talking about postseason based. Orioles to win the World Series, and then that Braves to win the National League. I think there is room for more, certainly, on a card there, whether that be a National League team to potentially, I'd have to go deeper, right? I don't think it would be Dodgers, but there's still a little breathing room there, and certainly could still add an American League team as well. I don't think that's unreasonable. Here, though, and I've talked about this a lot, I feel, I'm going to continue to mention it. These two teams, in the Royals and the Red Sox, are continually the teams that I am interested in from a futures perspective. I am just not sure if I will be willing to pull the trigger on those bets until we get the final standings and know who's in. I know I will lose value if either one of whenever anybody clinches a spot, but I do think that could be worth it. Let's go over to the Royals game tonight. They're going to host the LA Angels. They've got Seth Lugo going, and Seth Lugo being priced here big time. Minus 240. Lugo's not been special, which he was for the first 2, 3, 4 months of the season in his last, 3 or 4 starts. But I do think he can bounce back against the Halos here. And then Carson Fulmer goes, who's actually been pretty solid for LA. So I'm on the under 9 here, minus 120 juice in this Royals-Angels game. The other under I played tonight is actually in Texas-Pittsburgh. That's Louis Ortiz, Dan Dunning. Again, I think both guys can bounce back relatively to some of their recent starts. Those numbers are too high. Minus 122 on that Pirates-Rangers under there for the Major League Baseball card. My favorite bet, though, and I mentioned this before the break, it comes in Houston and Boston. Now, the Red Sox are very tricky as we talk about futures because this is one of these teams where you go, everything clicks right. I think there's an argument to be made they are as good as any team in baseball outside of, I guess, what they have in the bullpen, because that is a very real concern. But they have a lot of these high-ceiling arms like Tanner Houck, who they're going to throw tonight. And I should be tonight telling you my best bet is plus 122 on Tanner Houck of the Boston Red Sox. This Red Sox team tonight goes up against Yusei Kikuchi, who the Astros acquired from Toronto at the deadline. And I think Kikuchi is a fade spot here. A lefty who has relatively struggled a little bit against the right-handed side of the plate this season. I know he's been solid so far since putting on the Astros uniform, but I don't mind fading Kikuchi in this spot because the Red Sox lineup is one of the best in baseball. And I'm going to play this team total over 3.5 because there's a zillion guys, I feel, that would be worthy of hits, runs, RBI tonight or RBI shots. I just, again, brought it all in and played a 3.5 at minus 115, which is not expensive. Tristan Casas is back. Smashes righties. Tyler O'Neill at the top of the lineup or smashes lefties. So does Tyler O'Neill. So does Rob Refsnyder. So does Connor Wong. And when I mention Wong, Refsnyder, Casas, I'm not hitting you with Rafi Devers or Duran. They're best guys. That's the thing. This Red Sox lineup, it's just deep, man. It is incredibly deep. And it puts this Boston team on a nightly basis in the position, if their starters hit even close to their ceiling, like a Tanner Houck, they can run away with games. I think there's a chance that happens tonight, but Houck's not been clean enough to where I'm just focusing on the offense. We're going over the 3.5 at minus 115. Late night, just keeping with wild card stuff, the Dodgers are going to host the Seattle Mariners. Gavin Stone here, minus 136. Man, it speaks a lot about sometimes the arms that you see from LA. At home, minus 136 against what is a Mariners team that they have these pitchers that require respect. Brian Woo's got the baseball. He started to pitch a lot more in terms of an innings and total pitches perspective, and he's getting into now the 6-7 inning type of range, which is, I think, forcing Seattle to get a little bit more respect. But this is a spot, man, if we flipped home field, I mean, you're telling me Brian Woo could be favored over the LA Dodgers. And I'm not even saying it would be wrong. Like, I'm not on the Dodgers here in this spot. I couldn't get there, man. The question is going to be, can Seattle cash in on this rotation that everybody understandably adores? They've lost a lot of ground when it pertains to the AL West. The Astros are now 4 games up on this team, 5 in the loss column, and the Mariners have had help. The A's and the Angels are both bad, and the Texas Rangers are one of your biggest underachievers of the season. I played a Rangers win total under. Certainly, it would take quite a miracle for them to get through what was their preseason number. But I thought that it would be a struggling second half into perhaps a more dangerous, or a struggling first half into a more dangerous second half. Texas has really never woke up. And again, it's not mattered for Seattle enough. And I know you don't play your division as much these days as you used to, but and this team had a head start, an Astros team that looked dead in the water, and now the Mariners are clinging on for life. And their pathway to the postseason is probably through catching Houston more so than it is Kansas City or Boston, which is not how it should be. Speaking of the Dodgers, look at this race that they're in, man. The LA Dodgers are going to have to start playing a little bit better baseball if they want to comfortably walk away with the NL West. Now, the good thing for the Dodgers is how much the bye has not mattered. And the Dodgers are not going to miss the postseason. They are, 5.5 up on, I think, the Braves. I mean, they're up, right, clear of where the wild card race is. But if the Padres can keep playing the level of ball they are, or the Diamondbacks, and again, that was a really ugly series for Arizona against Tampa Bay. But, man, if Arizona can continue to play baseball like that, the Dodgers are going to be a legitimate race here. All of a sudden, you're a wild card team. The matchup gets interesting. The value in the bye is it's less games. It's less chances to be knocked out. And you would like to think at some point, some teams other than the Astros will be able to cash in and make this all work. We're going to get to some football next. Might as well just quickly acknowledge how close the race is in the American League Central. The Guardians look like they were going to run away with this thing. Not only they're now only 2 up on Minnesota, and they're only 3 up on the Kansas City Royals. That loss record, I think, might be wrong there, but that's a closer race than people realize. We've got the NFL next for you right here, SportsGrid.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Harry on the target. Right hand from my Perry. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining. We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
All right, we're back with you right here. We're live on SportsGrid. It's a Monday night. We have Adam Kaplan coming up here in about 5 minutes' time. We're going to talk some NFL with Cap. And I want to mention something that Cap had talked about on SportsGrid, I think, in a number of spots, where his confidence, and I give him a lot of credit, I'm going to give him credit even when I talk to him, his confidence did not match the market. And I'm referring to the Las Vegas Raiders starting job. If you look right now, the starting QB market over on FanDuel is down to just one team. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers, minus 520 Russell Wilson, plus 350 Justin Fields. And if you were to listen to Cap break down the Raiders situation, it was minus 520 level of confidence, if not more. And what Cap was saying kind of made sense. They paid Gardner this offseason. They are not going to not start Gardner Minshew. Well, the Raiders continuously said, we have a quarterback battle, and we look for one of these guys to pull away and establish themselves as the guy, as the man for the job here to win football games. Because, make no mistake about it, the Las Vegas Raiders are hoping to win football games at a high level this year. This is a team that last season went 8-9, right? But with Antonio Pierce taking over, and when they were 3-5, they probably believe that there's a lot more on the board, and they are going to need the quarterback position to come along for the ride, though, right? So, it's very interesting that the market, despite them paying Gardner Minshew, NFL insiders like Adam Kaplan saying it's going to be Gardner Minshew, this number on O'Connell to win the job was minus 128 in his favor, a day before Antonio Pierce announced it was Gardner Minshew. Really, Minshew was sitting at even money. In fact, the market, when the first tweet that I think hit on it is Minshew, because Antonio Pierce announced it in a press conference, was from Ian Rappaport. And the market was still available, just using FanDuel's starting quarterback market, on Minshew versus Aiden O'Connell. Gardner Minshew was minus 136. You got to think about this, okay? Minus 520 Russell Wilson. This is one of these situations, right? When they set the market, they are not factoring in what if the guy is injured, right? There is a reason the Raiders situation is OTB off the board, because it has been settled. It is Gardner Minshew. If there are some insane, unforeseen circumstances, right, that would be really unfortunate for anybody who was able to get in on Gardner Minshew. But the books have essentially believe you've won your bet, and the second that the Raiders touch the field on that Sunday against the LA Chargers on the road, you're going to win your bet. It is incredible that something like that was minus 136 up until the last hour. At no point did the books believe that Minshew had a real edge. And I don't want to sit here and tell you, oh, that's because, these starting quarterback markets are light. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, right? The markets are minus 520 Russ. They're super strong on Drake May. They were super strong on Sam Darnold, right? The books hang these because they're fun, right? But they don't hang them to I'll give you a good number on Gardner Minshew. Really interesting just to see the way that settled. And I will tell people, because, the books are very quick now when it comes to reporting. You get about 60 seconds, though, from tweet to close, which is enough time to log in, bet, and before they close. That's enough time. I'm not saying run to the window on Russell Wilson. What I am saying, though, is maybe just if by chance Justin Fields miraculously does take that job, be ready. Be ready. Because, again, there was a small, but there was a window there, right? On Gardner Minshew's quarterback one, click, bet, off the board. And now, if you're in on Gardner Minshew to be the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 1, it would take unforeseen circumstances to stop you from winning that wager. We'll talk a little bit with Adam Kaplan about the Vegas Raiders as well as the Atlanta Falcons next right here on SportsGrid.
an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Early on the target for the left-hander. Right hand from my great double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
All right, we're live with you right here. We're on SportsGrid on a Monday night. We have NFL insider Adam Kaplan join us. Cap, it's always great to talk to you here, and I was just talking a lot about you in the segment prior because you had been telling people Gardner Minshew's going to win this job. And, you know, it's comparable. You and I worked the NFL draft here together, right? When it's like, hey, Caleb Williams is going 1 overall to the Bears, right? And I'm not saying that your certainty that it was going to be Gardner was comparable to Caleb Williams is going first, but, you know, you see that these type of markets can be booked very, very heavily. Russell Wilson is right now minus 520 to win this job for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, Gardner Minshew was minus 136 when that word officially came out from Antonio Pierce. It was going to be him. The books never fully realized that Gardner Minshew had the level of edge that reporters like yourself did.
Yeah, and Kevin, I would say this with the Minshew situation. It wasn't like it was a landslide, like he totally dominated training camp. He was a little better. That was my understanding of it. Covering this business now nearly 25 years. When it's very, very close, you're looking for factors. Veteran versus rookie or veteran versus second-year quarterback in this case. You grade the tape from each practice. You go over the tape from the preseason games. Then you make a decision. But it's a dossier over a series of weeks. And I remember when I was out there, and Minshew had one of his best practices in training camp. He was phenomenal. It was a Saturday night practice just over 2 weeks ago. And you could just tell how he energizes the team. He's got a little bit different aura about him. I remember him as a rookie, Kevin, in 2019 as I believe, a 6th-rounder for the Jaguars, right? He won 6 Rookie of the Week awards for the Jaguars. That's pretty impressive. And let's not forget last year, the Colts, the other AFC South team that he was with, the Colts, they nearly made the playoffs as a wild card team after Richardson went down. And Minshew did a great job at quarterback. So I could tell you also that Minshew chose the Raiders. I was told at the time that this is the one team that would give him a legit chance to compete for starting job. Every other offer interest that he had was to be a number 2 quarterback. This was the one chance he got, and he got it.
Yeah, he certainly did, and Gardner will make the most of this, you know, that which he can, I am sure. Let me ask you about another situation, Cap. And luckily, I think you know that I ask you stuff that doesn't sound realistic, but that's fine. I appreciate you humoring me. You're out there on the beat with the Atlanta Falcons. They decided not to play Michael Penix Jr. in the preseason game because they said they had, quote, seen enough. I thought that was really weird, and I started to wonder, does this mean that there's something up with Kirk Cousins? Is he not healthy? Is there something we don't know here with the Falcons? What did you make of Penix not playing in week 2 of the preseason?
Yeah, that was odd. I have to tell you, I'm like, why would Penix is not going to play? He said, why would you not get him work? I heard Raheem Morris's answer. Have they seen enough? They knew they knew Penix. They know he's a number 2 quarterback. They still have Taylor Heineke, who honestly, Heineke puts good tape together. Maybe you flip him for a mid to late round draft pick. That also factors in, by the way, when players are used or not used in the third preseason game. Sometimes it's strategy. You're trying to get good tape out there. And also, now this is not on Penix, obviously, because he's going to be in the football team. But sometimes when you hide the player, you don't let the guy play because you may want to cut a guy and put him through waivers. It could be a late round pick, an undrafted free agent, which is sort of a roster trick that teams do. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that because he is the future quarterback. Now, when we talk about contracts, okay, Kirk Cousins, there's nothing going on with Cousins that I'm aware of. When we talk about health-wise, but when we talk about contracts, by structure, if Cousins doesn't get hurt, Penix won't play for the first 2 years. It's kind of unheard of what the Falcons did. But they felt like they wanted to secure, Kevin, you and I talked about this when we were doing the draft together. They wanted to secure their future quarterback, albeit not until year 3. Weird.
And I know, let me ask you this then, Cap, right? Since they were able to add Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons very recently in free agency, is there some validation in the Penix pick? Because everybody thinks they probably would have gone defense, right? That was the expectation. Latu, the UCLA kid, Dallas Turner out of Bama, were the kind of favorites to go in that slot to Atlanta. Is there some validation that they were able to answer some questions in free agency and still get what they're hoping is the franchise quarterback of the future?
Yeah, it's a fair point because if you handicap their team and you graded it and went over the roster, it was obvious. In fact, I remember reporting for it, ProFootballNetwork.com at the time, the trade deadline in late October. They were all in on any edge rusher that was available. They were calling teams like they needed edge rush help. That's why in my mock draft I put Dallas Turner in there, who you mentioned. Of course, they shocked us all and the one with a quarterback which they didn't need. But now the question is that Matthew Judon at 31 years old. Remember, he barely played last season. He got hurt. Can he get back to where he was before the injury? Justin Simmons at 31. Why was he cut by the Broncos? You have to ask that question. Why did he wait for so long? Now he's going to start. Hellum was one of the safeties for the Falcons, got hurt, and now Simmons had value there, clearly. So that'll help them. But Judon's going to have to play well. There's no question about it. And don't forget, Grady Jarrett's coming back from a torn ACL. So there's still some questions on their defense. And I get it, the books clearly have the Falcons as the favorite. Fro and I have been talking about it for months on Coast to Coast. We think they're overrated because, Kevin, when you look at the odds, the books have been on, and the public they've been on the Falcons the entire offseason. It's like you can go back to March after free agency got done. Everybody, and then plus somewhat of the draft, everyone's been on the Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons are. I find it interesting that how similar they are to the Saints last year in the same division, right? Where they got the new quarterback, they became the minus money favorite, and it just didn't work out for them in year number 1. I'm not there yet, Cap. I think the Saints could surprise some people a little bit in that division with maybe Derek Carr getting a little bit of continuity there. Because I think, would you say, Cap, it is on the board that Derek Carr is still the best quarterback in that division at the end of the year?
No, Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback. I get it. He's come back from torn Achilles at 36. Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. If you and I were ranking 32 starting quarterbacks, he's somewhere for me between 8 and 12. We'd have to sort of go down there and pare it down. Kirk Cousins is a guy who's a really good thrower of the quarterback. That's why he got that massive contract again, this time with the Falcons. Where Derek Carr, the reason why he's on the team is because his base salary of $30 million this season for the Saints is fully guaranteed. He didn't play well last season. Let's call it like it is. He just didn't play well. There were guys around him who could have played better. He's wildly inconsistent. Sometimes he's too risk-averse to throw the ball downfield when the throw's there. There's a reason why the Raiders gave up on him. And he's just got to play better. There's enough, by the way, there's enough around Derek Carr for him to not only play better, but for them to push for a wild card spot.
Yeah, Cap, now I should ask you about the starting quarterback market that does still out there, and it exists because, man, in terms of disappointing preseason performances, the Steelers having Russ and Fields available and only scoring 3 points at home was pretty tough. What's your read on what's going on in Pittsburgh right now?
Spent just over a week ago, basically last Monday and Sunday with the Steelers. And Russell Wilson just came back from the calf injury. The feeling around the team was that Wilson would start week 1. It wasn't much of a debate. but he hasn't played well so far, and they haven't protected him well. His reaction time has not been great. He needs to get rid of the football. Fields, you're right, is obviously way more mobile. He's much younger. That's a part of it. But the feeling was that based on what Wilson did for the Broncos, yes, he got benched, but he did have 26 touchdowns, that they have a guy who's been there and done that. The guy's a Super Bowl winner. Their hope is that going forward, they could get more stability at quarterback. And Fields does give him something different. But the problem with Fields is, Kevin, he's never been consistent. You see the too much of a variance of, okay, he had that game against Washington last season where he was absolutely incredible. He had 2 games in a row where he was great. Yeah. Then he fell off again. And Chicago had enough of him. So they're not in great shape. And this offensive line, which they've invested in over the last 3 seasons, they have 5 new starters. They're expecting much more out of this. So I know Troy Fatano, their first-round pick, didn't play. He's got a knee injury. He won't be back to week 1. But that's a concern, Kevin, is their offensive line. What happened to that offensive line the last game?
Yeah, and then Jalen Warren picks up, a little injury as well in that preseason game. So we'll see how it looks for Pittsburgh. Cap, appreciate your time as always. We'll continue to talk with the countdown to kickoff. We'll be right back. Game Time Decision.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Harry on the target. Right hand from my Perry, double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining. We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Back with you right here, Game Time Decisions. The baseball board is getting underway in Miami with the Marlins hosting the Arizona Diamondbacks. At 7 o'clock, we've got Blue Jays, Reds, Orioles, Mets, and then 8 o'clock or later is the rest of that slate. I do want to grab a moment here to quickly just talk a little WNBA. No W tonight. That kind of is the nature of when they do go with the loaded 4-game slate like they did yesterday. It changes. It's still a small league. So an off night tonight. But yesterday had, I think it's fair to say, one of the more important results of the WNBA season, which was the Indiana Fever beating the Seattle Storm. They did so by a final score of 92-75. They made 15 threes in this game. They won the fourth quarter 33-17. They were a dog in this basketball game to Seattle, actually, of about 3.5 points. The Fever are now 8-5 at home. They're 13-15 overall. But it is important to remind people that this team was 1-8 to start the year. They were 3-10 on June 10th. So that does mean that this team is 10-5 since that point. They do now win a lot more than they used to. And I talked about the Indiana Fever winning a WNBA championship in our preseason breakdowns. And obviously, the early returns were a disaster. This team, as I mentioned, was 1-8. Caitlin Clark was struggling with the turnovers a little bit too much. Aaliyah Boston was nowhere near a sophomore leap. And it seemed like this team was all of a sudden going to be heading to a Paige Beckers race. Well, I shouldn't have panicked, and I didn't really panic, right? I mean, there wasn't much to do with a title future, but maybe I should have been willing to trust a preseason breakdown and come back in on the Indiana Fever when they were being offered at 100-1, 120-1 to win the WNBA championship, because that number is now 30-1. The WNBA title odds still suggest that it is the Liberty, the Aces, and a sizable gap. And that's fair. And for the Indiana Fever, they're going to still have to put up more than just this two-game, pack of results here to suggest that they're going to win a championship. When I talk about trusting what I thought heading into the year, it was two simple ideas. Idea number one, Caitlin Clark is going to be one of the 10 best players in the WNBA. She is very comfortably that. You are lying to yourself if you don't think that's true. She is going to, by the time we get to the playoffs, possibly be considered a top 5 player in this league. Certainly if the first two games coming out of the break are any indication of what we're going to see here from Caitlin Clark, who again, I know it's a 2-game sample size, but 26, 5, and 10 is pretty spectacular, and that's what you're getting out of Clark. So it's trust Caitlin Clark, right? The second is, this team's best basketball won't be played in Game 1 or Game 5 or Game 10, but it'll be played heading into the postseason. Every reason to believe that that is true, considering this team left the break and beat two teams in a row, both spots as an underdog, both teams that were listed as favorites above them in the championship market. The Phoenix Mercury were listed in front of them. They beat Phoenix, and they dropped that number. Mercury down to 45-1. Seattle is still in front of them, and that's fine. I'm not saying they need to be in front of Seattle, but the Storm are 14-1 to win the WNBA championship. The Indiana Fever beat them comfortably. Sure, at home. I gotcha. But if that is the result, then those are maybe closer to even-ish teams. The game at Minnesota feels big. Because, again, it's not big in terms of do they win, right? The Fever are going to be in the playoffs. I think that is, I don't think that's an overstatement, right? Like that's how this is going to go for the Indiana Fever. They will be in the playoffs. But it's how do they match up against the top teams? Because if you look through the title odds here, there's 4 that are under 10-1. Liberty, the Aces, the Lynx, and the Sun. Now, the Liberty and the Aces are a different level of team. Though, don't forget, this team did catch New York at home and beat them. But what does it look like at Minnesota? Because part of the issue for the early Fever was not just the losses, but it was being routed in those games. It was how bad they were losing in those basketball games. You have 6 days off here. A lot. I guess that maybe is the benefit of the front-loaded schedule that this team played. But if this team can go to Minnesota, I'm not saying win. They're probably going to be what? 7-point dog? The Mystics were 8.5? Maybe 6? They're going to be a dog, right? Can they hang? or do they get rolled? Because that'll lower some of the confidence. Man, look at this schedule here for the Fever. Right? I mentioned that top 4. At Minnesota, they host the Sun, and they host the Aces twice. They host Minnesota one other time. They're done. They don't play the Liberty every single game anymore, right? They've played all their games against the Seattle Storm. They've played all their games against the Phoenix Mercury. There's a lot of favorite spots. A lot on this board here for the Indiana Fever, who are probably going to finish above 500 at this point. I mean, they're going to put their preseason win total back in range for people who bet that over. And that is also why Caitlin Clark is going to run away, and she is, and you can tell in the market, with Rookie of the Year. Despite Angel Reese being significantly better than just about anybody could have projected and coming off of a 19-20 game, it is still going to end up going to Caitlin Clark, and she has the Fever thinking about a lot more than just Rookie of the Year and playoff spots. We'll talk to Joe Madden next with you right here on Sports.
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Harry on the target for the left hand from my Perry, double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Welcome to the Dome Zone right here on a Monday. Listen, these fools in the back. Someone misspells the word done. I don't know, man. It's just a crazy group in the back. Yesterday, who were treating Miami Marlins Bizzello like an NL Cy Young candidate. I have no idea how that worked out. I'll be honest with you. Hand up. All I know from the baseball board yesterday is Clay Holmes is now officially on Get Him Off My Team watch. And I feel like Joe Madden might agree. She bets enough Yankees baseball to see Clay Holmes be terrible. Joe, it's great to talk to you. How are we feeling here for a Monday slate?
Feeling good for a Monday, Kevin. We've got some really good games out there, so excited for them to get underway.
Let's get into what is going to be the upcoming game here between Toronto and Cincinnati. Kevin Gausman has the ball. Rare Blue Jays favorite spot, Joe. Do you like anything in this one?
The Jays are too big of a favorite in this one, Kevin. You're looking at them and you're going to have to lay so much juice on the money line, and I don't trust them to be able to cover the run line here versus the Cincinnati Reds. Kevin Gausman, he's up and he's down. He's got a 4.20 ERA, and I keep talking about this bullpen. So if I'm looking at anything in this, I know the Cincinnati Reds have been kind of spotty offensively, but I do trust in this team to be able to come out, especially against the bullpen, and put some runs on the board. And I think Toronto here, you got to look at Vlad. You got to circle him for that home run. I do think Toronto will get the run. So I'm going to take the over 8 in this one, Kevin.
All right, looking for a little over here then with Toronto and Cincinnati. I could use a Reds win. I need to recalibrate the updated win totals I played on Cincinnati and Tampa. I don't think they're going necessarily in the direction that I wanted to them, Joe. Let's talk about the New York Mets here. Citi Field, they're going to host the Baltimore Orioles. Peterson against Rogers. Anything you like in this one?
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of runs in this one with this pitching matchup, and I'm expecting those runs to come in those first 5 innings. So I'm going to hit the first 5 innings over 4.5 runs. That's coming in. It's juicy at minus 140. But we're going to play some home run props in this one and get that plus money there. Gunnar Henderson coming in at plus 560 for the anytime home run. He's got 33 home runs on the season, 4 home runs in his last 5 games, and I could not believe we were getting so much value with him here at plus 560. And then on the other side, Pete Alonso has been phenomenally hot as well, and he's been hitting lefties nice and hard. So with Rogers coming out here with a terrible ERA in the month of August, the ERA over 7 in this month, I really do think Pete Alonso will stay hot tonight. His home run prop is coming in at plus 370, Kevin.
Yeah, I think both looks make plenty of sense. I cannot shout Gunnar Henderson out enough. Look, if I'm going to beg and complain for a player to get me through a season-long RBI number, Gunnar Henderson has stepped up like no one else. He is, as you mentioned, 4 of his last 5 with a home run. He's up to 77 RBI on the season. And I do wonder a little bit, Joe, big picture, and Joe's going to stick around with us. We're going to get to the full baseball board here. I wonder if Baltimore is potentially timed playing their best baseball, because they're not doing that right now, right? But yeah. Gunner's all of a sudden picking back up, and I wonder if this Orioles team, it could really be the team to beat in the American League when that playoff bracket gets set.
Oh, absolutely. You look at them battling it out here with the Yankees, and I do think they were sitting right around even this morning to take the division over the Yankees, and I do think they have every ability to. Now, you look at the Yankees, though, and the combination of Aaron Judge and Soto, and when those two are so hot, it's a hard team to beat. But the Baltimore Orioles, I like what we're seeing out of this team. Gunnar Henderson, like you said, the RBIs he's been able to accumulate is fantastic, his home run numbers. And this team, I think, has the weapons on both sides of the ball and at the mound. So I do like the Baltimore Orioles. It's going to be a race with the Yankees there, but they have every opportunity to get it done, Kevin.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a race with the Yanks. I will say, last night's game, man, and I know it's an overreaction, but last night's game was one of the more defeating Yankees losses in some time. Because to me, it's a combination of fandom, but it's a combination of a veteran. To be a dog to the Detroit Tigers felt wildly disrespectful. I know how good Tariq Skubal is. I know he's put it together. And, you know, everybody who's bet him to win Cy Young's in an amazing, amazing spot. But the Tigers can't be favorites on a neutral to the Yankees. And they were. And they weren't going to win the game. And then here comes Clay Holmes to blow it. And I know I'm talking about it too much, but also I'm not really. Because when an all-star closer on one of the top 5 teams to win a World Series is potentially going to lose his job, that's kind of a big deal. We'll see how the Yankees ultimately play it. We're going to hit a break. Joe Maddon's going to stick around. We're going to go through her full baseball card on a Monday night next.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center?
an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect, and I'm into this game, yeah, we'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Perry on the top. Right hand from my Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form. Bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Welcome back in. Game Time Decisions live on a Monday night. We have Joe Madden with us here to open it up. We've got Craig Mish around the corner as well as Dave Sharapan. We're loaded here in the second hour on a Monday night. Joe, great to have you with us again. I know we set the stage for the upcoming games, which are going to have first pitch within about the next 10 minutes or so. But we have a lot more starting from 8 o'clock and beyond. Let's start with this Red Sox-Astros game here tonight. It's Tanner Houck and it's Yusei Kikuchi. What do you like in this one between Houston and Boston?
Well, firstly, I'm glad Kikuchi is with the Houston Astros now, and he's actually been really strong in his 3 performances with them. He's really limited those runs, but I don't think that happens here today. We look at the Boston Red Sox and their ability to get these runs on the board. This offense is really being clicking as of late, and I think it continues to be able to produce those runs tonight. Now, when we look at Tanner Houck coming out here for the Boston Red Sox, he's been allowing those runs to come in, giving up 3 or more runs in 8 of his last 11 starts. So I do expect both of these teams to be able to get the runs on the board. I'm going to go nicely to the over in this one, Kevin, the over 8.5. We're coming in at minus 100, minus 110 in some places now, but I do think this will be a higher scoring game. We know the Astros offensively have had their best offensive production at home, so give me the over.
It's understandable. My favorite bet in this one is the Boston team total, Joe, 3.5, minus 115. I really like this lineup against the lefty in Kikuchi, who I understand as you said, he's been good for Houston, but I still don't fully trust him, and I think there's enough pop tonight for that Boston lineup to get over a 3.5 number. How about the Kansas City Royals here going up against the LA Angels? Seth Lugo has the baseball here at home. Anything jumping off the page?
Yeah, looking at this one, I really do think the Kansas City Royals are playing fantastic ball at the moment, and they should be able to get the win. Now, if you want to get them for the win tonight, you have to take them on the run line. Otherwise, you're laying too much juice. And I do like them on the run line here to be able to come out and cover it. And I know when we look at Seth Lugo, we look at his stats on the run line for their wins. They haven't been covering it with him. But against the LA Angels here and Fulmer coming out for them, I really do expect that offensive production out of the Kansas City Royals that we really did see this weekend to come to life in this game as well. I'm looking for them to hit him nice and hard. And when I look at who I think is going to hit him the hardest out there, I am looking at Salvador Perez. He's coming in for the home run at plus 340. He's done well versus the Angels in his career. 64 hits, 10 home runs, 30 RBIs and 27 runs over 53 games versus the Angels. So I know a lot of people are going to want to bet Bobby Witt Jr., and I don't blame you. I love what we're seeing out of Bobby Witt Jr., but when you look at his numbers, he has had those struggles versus the LA Angels in his career. He hasn't been able to put up the big numbers like he does against some other teams. So I'm staying off Bobby Witt, but I still do think it's still worth a bet, Kevin, here, because Bobby Witt is strong. I think Perez is the stronger of the two, though.
Yeah, Bobby is spectacular. I do wonder if at some point my Yankee fandom will catch up and make me not like him, only because he is what stands in front of Aaron Judge having this triple crown. But also that's probably unfair to Bobby Witt Jr., who rocks and is still batting an outrageous .350 on this season. Joe, how about Minnesota from the AL Central? They go to San Diego. We know this Padres team has been red hot, 70-55 now all of a sudden. This is a team that, when the second half of the year started, they were a 500 ball club. I mean, they've just been out of control. I know they dropped the series against Colorado, but back home here for a series with Minnesota, anything jump off the page?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think this is a great night for the Padres in this one, especially with this pitching matchup. King is coming out here for the Padres, and he's been phenomenally strong. Now, overall in the season, it's only a 3.19 ERA, but when we look at his last, I believe it's 7 starts, he's been able to drop that ERA to 1.94. He's been phenomenally strong out there, and I really do see him doing some damage here versus the Twins and limiting their ability to get any runs on the board. I could see him completely holding them off the board here. Minnesota has a total of 3.5. I will take that to the under. Again, it's a little juicy at -136, but I do think it is a solid bet in this game. I don't want to take the full game under, though, because we know the San Diego Padres at any given moment can really rack up those runs, especially against the right-handed rookie coming out here, Matthews. This will only be his second start in the MLB, so I'm coming out really cautious with him. Now, he has a strikeout number of 3.5 at -120. When we look at his numbers in the AAA, he was absolutely fantastic at being able to get those strikeouts. I just don't know if I think the Padres are going to strike out that much versus him, because the Padres have such a low strikeout rate. So I'm staying off that, but I will look at King here for his strikeouts. Over 6.5 strikeouts for King, coming in at -148. Again, it's juicy, but you could always parlay some of these pieces together. So it was -145 earlier in the day. We have seen that movement, but he's been able to get those strikeouts on the board. In his last 7, he's been able to record in his last 3, at least 7 strikeouts. So I'm looking for those strikeouts again today, Kevin.
We've also got a matchup with Oakland and Tampa. I think this is the only game from my card I didn't mention. I'm actually on the Rays at -125 money line, because I think there's multiple ways that they can get the job done here, whether that's Taj Bradley bouncing back a little bit, or if that's Joe Boyle continuing to be bad. And if Boyle's bad, Joe, then that's fine if Bradley's bad, which is, I think, the direction you're looking in this game.
Yeah, we look at Bradley here. He's 6-7 on the season with a 3.49 ERA. He's not as bad as those numbers do say, though, because he just hasn't got that run support out of the Tampa Bay Rays. This is an offense that I really can't trust out there, and that's why I had to start looking at the Oakland A's. We know, looking at the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday, what happened with Arizona. They went all the way into that 12th inning before being able to close it out. And I tell you, Kevin, I was live on In-Game Live Primetime, and they kept getting those runners on base and then not being able to bring anyone home. So I do think the Tampa Bay Rays will be tired here. And when we look at Bradley, in his last start, he did give up 6 earned runs. So I'm kind of concerned that the Oakland A's will have the advantage in this one, but I don't want to back them straight up on the money line. I don't even want to take them on that run line at +1.5 in case the Rays come out and shock me. What I'm going to do here is look at the team total of the Oakland A's. I do think they'll be able to get 4 runs in this game. Their team total is coming in at 3.5. To the over, it's -102. So give me the A's to get the runs. I'm not trusting them to get the win, though.
All right. And then, Joe, what about the Giants and their matchup with the Chicago White Sox here? Kyle Harrison getting the ball for San Francisco.
Yeah, Kyle Harrison has been absolutely destroyed in the month of August, but I'm not buying into the fact that the Chicago White Sox are going to get a win here. We know this team is eliminated, and I can't trust them to get anything done, Kevin. I'm going to look at the Giants and take their team total to the over 4.5 runs here, coming in at -115 for the Giants. And I do think Chapman has the ability to get the RBI. His RBI is coming in at +115. He's got 61 RBIs on the season, 19 home runs, and Cannon gives up those big plays, and I don't trust him to limit the bats here of the Giants.
And then lastly, Joe, close it out. Mariners, Dodgers. Gavin Stone has the ball for L.A. What do you like?
Yeah, Gavin Stone for LA, and we have Brian Wu coming out here for the Seattle Mariners. These are both two pitchers that I really trust out there on the mound. I do think the Nerfy is in play in this game. That's coming in at minus 132. If you want to look at the first 5 innings under 4.5, it's minus 128. Gets kind of dangerous there with the Dodgers to keep it under in that. But I do think Gavin Stone over 5.5 strikeouts. I'm expecting him to come out nice and strong at plus 124. We know the Seattle Mariners strike out a heck of a lot out there, Kevin. And if you're looking for anyone for the home run, I know Ohtani hasn't been really strong with his numbers, but he's coming in for the home run at plus 410. Brian Wu, I think he would allow that home run to Ohtani, if anyone.
All right, there we go. Joe Madden helping us get set here for the baseball board. Joe, appreciate it. As always, best of luck with the slate tonight.
Thanks, Kevin. Best of luck, everyone.
Up next, we've got Craig Mish stopping by the NL and AL wildcard races. What's he looking for? Find out next.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fights. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry.
Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the target for the left-hander. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double tap and ready. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form. Bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Live to right here, it's Game Time Decisions. Joining us now is Craig Mish. You can catch here every single day, 11 a.m. East Coast time on Newswire. Craig, great to talk to you here. The baseball season certainly heating up.
Yeah, it is. And I think that for a lot of teams, this is a dicey time of the year because I think that most people, in terms of fandom, while their sports betting acumen may have been toward baseball, that's going to be shifting a lot, Kevin, as you know, toward football this weekend and next week too. Mm-hmm. With college football underway. And so, you know, what tends to happen this time of the year, I think for most bettors and honestly, even most fantasy players too, is we lose sight of what happens in August and September for those teams that are kind of out of it. And next year we forget about some performances that happen in baseball in August and September. And so we're approaching that time where I think America's future and America's passion goes toward football.
It certainly does. Let me ask you, though, Craig, do you think that at all impacts the awards where guys who are right now considered in the lead, it's harder to push them off? Or are the people responsible for voting still keeping a close enough eye to where they could be shifted by anything that takes place over the final month plus?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, Kevin. I think it depends on who you talk to. I think that for somebody like myself, I'm a little bit of an anomaly because I'm still following, but yet a lot of my attention here at SportsGrid does go to football. But I think for most people in the Baseball Writers Association who are voting on these awards, Kevin, they are still at these games all the way through the end of the season. Yeah. So, for example, the writer or the media who's covering the Colorado Rockies, they may not be paying attention to the Denver Broncos just yet. There are people that cover the Broncos that do a fine job for the different papers and outlets as well. So I think it just depends on the individual who votes. Not everybody in the BBWA is covering a team on an everyday basis, but I do think that still a lot of attention is paid. And then even with some of the shift in focus, I think for just the average baseball fan, I think we all would agree that's going to come back at the end of September when we're trying to figure out who's going to get in the postseason.
Yeah, it certainly will. Now, if the voting was done today, I think certainly the expectation is Chris Sale would win NL Cy Young. He's currently about minus 400 in the market to win that award. I am wondering, though, if at any point, Greg, Atlanta goes, man, we're losing a lot of bodies here. Austin Riley news just came out. I know they're going to be activating Ronaldo Lopez, but is there a world, just looking at the recent Chris Sale history, and he's probably going to throw the most innings this year that he has in at least 5 or 6 years, that they're cautious with Sale before we hit the postseason?
Well, I mean, if the Braves are still pushing for it, I think that answer is no. And the other thing, Kevin, with a team like the Braves, you still have 40, 50,000 strong showing up in Atlanta every single night. So I just don't think that you can send that message. If anything, I think what the Braves are doing is probably looking for a waiver claim. Like, for example, when Amed Rosario got let go by the Dodgers, he got scooped up by the Reds the other day. So I think Atlanta will try and do that. They'll continue to fight. I think the only silver lining for Sale and for the Braves is if they don't make it, I don't think anybody would be upset, Kevin. Like, I mean, you look at the amount of injuries that have hit them. I don't think anyone is going to indict Brian Snitker or anyone on their staff or their president, Alex Anthopoulos. I think it's just one of those really bad luck years. But for Sale himself to chase a Cy Young and chase a postseason, Kevin, I think he could even pitch the last game of the Major League Baseball season too, if it mattered. So the answer to me is no.
Yeah, and I just think it is bizarre. I think, Craig, the last time we talked to you here on this show, we were like, hey, Braves are going through some injury issues. Yeah, and you were like, yeah, it's not great. We'll see what and it's just, hey, by the way, today, Austin Riley, it's just been one of those years. But to your point, a credit to them, they are still certainly in the mix. On the other side of it, with the American League, the wild card race clearly involves both Minnesota and Kansas City because as of today, they would be wild card teams. I wonder if at all that's detracted from the momentum they have, both of them, in winning the Central. The Guardians have, slipped a little bit here, and right now Cleveland's only up 2 on Minnesota and 3 on Kansas City. Those are really close races here, and that would then all of a sudden shift the Guardians into a wild card race. What do you make of those 3 teams right now fighting in the AL Central?
Yeah, I think all 3 teams are very good, and it wouldn't stun me at all if Cleveland was to fall back a little bit. Perhaps Minnesota could take over. I mean, look, Kansas City may have the best player on all 3 of those teams in Bobby Witt, but let's not discount the most underrated player on those 3 teams, and that is Jose Ramirez, who, Kevin, I've talked about on many shows. I mean, this trajectory for him is Hall of Fame. Like, this is a phenomenal player who doesn't talk a lot. You don't see him a lot, but he is usually the best player on the field at any time. So I think of those 3 teams, the way they're constructed is I think Minnesota may have the edge as far as some deep pitching because they do have Pablo Lopez and some others that could get it done. They're deeper. Cleveland's been doing it all season long, sort of strangely. And then Kansas City has the one player above all else. I still wouldn't rule out Boston and maybe some other teams too getting hot, but I could see all of this going down to the last day of the season.
Curious, Craig, in kind of the circles that you pay attention to, are you hearing more buzz for Emmanuel Clase, the incredible closer for Cleveland? Because his number in that Cy Young market, look, it looks like it's skewball, but it has moved that suggests he's one of the top 3 contenders for that award.
Yeah, he's not going to win it, but yeah, he's had a phenomenal year. I think he saved 4 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't ever remember seeing. So Look, he's established himself as the best closer in baseball. It's a very volatile position in reality where Class A Kevin next year could come in and just not be good anymore. That's how crazy the closer position is.
Yeah.
There's very few Mariano Riveras, but it just happens. Guys flame out like that. But he's super valuable to what Cleveland is doing. But is he going to win the Cy Young Award? I would put a heavy bet on no.
Yeah, and the number still suggests he won't. Right now, that's a 30-1 price. Tariq Skubbal's minus 1,900 to win the award. And Skubal stayed healthy this year. But it has been interesting to watch Class A kind of continue to move in that market. And I will say, you mentioned Mariano Rivera. I made sure not to ask you about the Clay Holmes situation during this, because I know you said we talk too much Yankees. But I'll tell you this, Craig, it's not Greg. It's not great. It's not great. Craig, appreciate it. Again, make sure you catch Craig over on Newswire. It should be a fun finish of this baseball season.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kevin. Have a great night.
All right, always great stuff there from Craig Mish. And again, I didn't want to ask Craig about any of the New York stuff, but I'll say it as many times as I can. This Clay Holmes stuff is not great, man. It's not great. 10 blown saves. Made an all-star game. Don't love it. Don't love it.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fight. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry.
Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the target for the left-hander. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double jab and right. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this thing all the way to the top now.
Back with you right here, Game Time Decisions. We're lucky enough, Craig Mish has decided to stay around. I roped him in with off-air Yankees conversations. Let me ask you something, again, not Yankees, the Orioles. I was talking a little bit earlier on in this show with Joe Madden. She has some Gunnar Henderson props tonight, and Gunnar Henderson's all of a sudden started to find that rhythm again, Craig. And I think, I know from our conversations you've kind of said, let's see who's in the playoffs, and then we'll figure it out from there, because that's the way the baseball playoffs have been working. I wonder if this Baltimore team is going to be able to time this correctly. And obviously they had an incredible start. Things got a little odd. Not that they were playing terrible baseball, right? But you would think that they would have maybe pulled away a little more. I wonder if this Baltimore team is going to be able to pull away from the Yankees and play their best baseball at the right time, and they will be considered whether they win or not is irrelevant they'll become the clear favorites to win the American League by the time we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm going to disagree, and I'll tell you why. I think that and I was asked this. I don't remember what show I was on here on SportsGrid. I think actually may have been a radio station in Baltimore. They asked me, and I picked the Orioles. I believe I picked them to either win the World Series this year or the runner-up to Philadelphia. But people are surprised, Kevin, to a degree, that the Orioles, basically their biggest pitching move was acquiring Trevor Rogers from the Marlins. He's pitched horribly, obviously, with the Marlins. I am not surprised at all, Kevin. And I think what you're saying in theory is true. I think every season for the next several, with this Rutschman and Henderson and Kowser and all the offense they have, I think you are right. They're going to try to catch lightning in a bottle. But I don't think you're ever going to see the Orioles at the trade deadline go after some massive player like a Verlander or a Scherzer. Because, Kevin, isn't that what they need? Go right. Like, if you said right now, what do the Orioles need to run away with it, win a few games in the postseason, and get to the World Series? They would need somebody behind Burns that you could guarantee could go 5-6 innings. I don't think they're ever going to do that. And because of the way that they run that organization, where they simply don't want to trade guys that they feel are going to get called up the next couple of years. Some Oriole fans hate that, but that is going to make the Orioles a postseason team every year, but recognizing that it's a tournament in baseball. This is not the best anymore. This is not 5 teams, 6 teams making it. It's a dozen teams. It's a tournament like the NCAA tournament. Whoever gets hot at the right time wins. So it's a very interesting approach that the Orioles have, and I just don't see that changing anytime soon.
So I certainly agree. Rodgers isn't he can't pitch for them in the playoffs. Like it almost comes off like an innings eating thing, right?
Yeah.
I think the outlook for them is good, while totally agreeing that it could feel just random when we get there. Where I fully agree with you, and what made the deadline for me, due to an Orioles future and a Braves future, a bit devastating, was feeling like Blake Snell could have been the biggest swing piece at the deadline. Now, you would know better than me how realistic the Giants trading Snell was and what those offers were like. But Blake Snell has basically been the best pitcher in baseball since July. And obviously the game after, I think it was the game after the deadline or the second one for him where he threw the no-hitter. Imagine if, to your point, Blake Snell was on the Baltimore Orioles behind Corbin Burns.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment, but I think it's a little bit of recency bias because we are, I think it is almost 3 weeks out where he's been still the best pitcher in baseball since the trade deadline. He was really good in July, but he has been awesome since then. So I think it is easy to go back and look and say, hey, maybe they should have done this. But the other part of this, Kevin, the Giants have such a hard time signing anyone. If they're going to give away Blake Snell for anything, they're not going to get him back. I mean, every year they go for Judge or Correa or some mega free agent, Ohtani. They can't get guys to sign there for whatever reason. They had to overpay that guy from the KBO. This dude hasn't played a game in 3 months. So if the Giants are going to do that, it signals a massive rebuild for them. I don't know what the ownership is going to do in the offseason, but they have to figure out how to get mega players, stars, to sign with the Giants. They're willing to spend the money.
Yeah, and it's a really good point because usually if you're willing to spend, I mean, it's not like it's a bad area to be in, right? I mean, San Francisco's beautiful from what I hear. You would think it would be more effective. But who also knows, because if the wild card race is going to be, I mean, look, they're sitting 500 right now, and they're 4 back of Atlanta. Crazier things have happened, right? And I guess time will tell. Craig, I really appreciate the time here. Again, it's going to be a really fun second half of this season.
Always fun talking to you. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, you got it. All right, we'll be right back here. It's Game Time Decisions. Dave Sharapan right around the corner.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game. Yeah, we'll be into this. Yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Harry on the top. Right hand from my very double champion. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this thing all the way to the top now.
What if Vladdy Jr. wins AL MVP? It's not going to happen. But he's been great for this team, huh? He's batting .317 heading into tonight. He had a home run in that game against Cincinnati. He's batting .422 over his last 30 days. That's crazy. That is absolutely wild. Arizona jumped all over Miami tonight there. That one's 4-1. Grand slam from Del Castillo. Adrian, why not? Okay. Get excited, people. Little grand slam action there. Put the Diamondbacks on top. That one's 4-1 right now. Metsies jump all over. JD Martinez goes deep after a Mark Vientos base knock. So if there's any 1.5 hits, runs, RBI out there, you are in a good spot. That's where the baseball board is right now. Let's get Dave Sharapan in here. Consig, little Boston attire as well. What's the word, man?
Hello, sir. Good to see you. Yeah, busy running around and had to, come up with something quick. So went with the Boston City Connects. Oh, just to say hello and see what's happening. So,
yeah,
that's it. Baseball.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Now, I will say sometimes, and I don't think Dave ever. Well, that's not true. No, Dave loves to come in sometimes. Lakers are playing the Timberwolves. All of a sudden, he found Timberwolf gear, right? Like he likes to do that. But sometimes he does it in a positive direction. I don't think you realize it. All over this Red Sox team total tonight against Kikuchi, 3.5. So the Boston gear certainly stands out. Works for me, Dave. And Dave, we can kind of circle back to baseball in a bit. I want to actually ask you about the NFL because I didn't realize where the NFL preseason final tally sat. So for anybody that's been betting NFL preseason, and it's kind of funny, I've myself, I've been doing well. I know for anybody who was involved this weekend, really good weekend of NFL preseason betting. There's a few overs that I've played over the 2 weeks. The Kansas City-Detroit one, which was a 24-23. What I had not realized is betting so far in this preseason has actually not required much handicapping, and it's basically been bet the under and then count the money. Donnie told me this morning on Moneyline it was 27-6 to the under so far. My question to you, Dave, and there's going to be a few of them, is are the books in a position in preseason where they need under? Because I feel like that's always the case in the regular season. But is that the case in the preseason, and this is going well for them?
Oh, yeah, it's going fine because they made the numbers. You saw the numbers the second week different than the first. And a lot of guys in the space, a lot of the rhombuses and the parallelograms, quote unquote experts, they had overs. I mean, a lot of people had overs because the numbers were low. So, yeah, some books did really well. When the games go that majority, I mean, 14-2, K-Dub, 14-2. Ideally, the book would love if for 16 games, 8 over, 8 under, and we're good. But when you get it so far skewed to the under in anything, yeah, book guys probably planned their Christmas vacation after that. If there was enough handle. I mean, it was a big week. That's a good week.
I was talking to someone though, because I've been playing a good amount of unders right in these preseason games, and someone said like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Like they don't play a lot of the starters, and it should they should go under, right? Was essentially what the person said to me, who doesn't like bet a lot of preseason action or anything like that, right? So that's just kind of like the general take. And I said, no, you're right, but you would think the totals would be lower then. Like you would think that you would have to, if you're in the mindset to bet unders on these slates, I don't want to say you'd have to work for it a bit more, but I don't know. You think some of these numbers would give you maybe more hesitation? Not now. Some of them are landing close, right? Like that Cowboys-Raiders game landed 39. I think it closed 40, right? The under that I had in the Texans-Giants game, 39.5, lands 38. So I'm not acting like everything's kind of a walkthrough, but you would think some of those spots some would land on the overside, some would land on the underside. The ones that are getting close are still playing under, but I guess they have no reason to adjust these numbers, Dave, if they're still getting primary over bets.
Correct. And, I mean, you have to consider, too, the preseason is a unique market. There's not a lot of people rushing to the counter. We're in a vacuum here on SportsGrid and, in the content space, right? Like, we're doing it because we love it and we're into it, or, we have to do content and stuff like that. The handle on this stuff is not nearly as much as and it's not even close. It's a different sport compared to the regular season. So now you got to beat the bad guys, as the book. So, they're looking to bet you under. You got to wait and see what they're going to do. A lot of times there's a lot of dummy plays, where they'll ship it a play over and books won't move it because they want you to move it up so then they can come back on unders. There's so many games that they're playing, and the preseason is the ultimate cat and mouse game. But K-Dub, it's changing, is it not? 3 instead of 4, a kickoff rule that nobody understands, joint practices where they already know everything about each other by the time they get to play a game. And it's like, look, I don't want to see you no more. I don't want to practice against you no more. I don't want to play against you no more. Let's get out of here, run the ball, and go home. So I think I don't want to say we're seeing the end of the preseason in the NFL, but we're getting damn close. We're closer to the end than the beginning.
What I would say, though, Dave, is I don't know. I don't remember a time in recent history where we were like, oh, man, like preseason football, here comes all the starters. But this has been this way for a while. What I still maintain and what still throws me for a loop is that there is no consensus amongst these teams how much to play these guys. Patrick bleeping Mahomes is out there for a quarter.
Right.
The Falcons don't think Michael Penix should play.
Ever.
They're backup. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very odd the way it is. What I think is tough, it's crazy how it works out, man. But the Steelers-Bills game had a ton of movement, right? Well, they're like, well, Josh Allen's going to play like a quarter and a half. Yeah. And he never touched the field.
Never.
And then they still won the game. Then they still win the game.
Yeah. The Steelers quarterback situation is a mess, K-Dub. It's a mess. I mean, starters are being named today, Minshew over the weekend, and, here in Vegas, they're not even sure he should be the starter. And Jaden Daniels in Washington. Pittsburgh got 2 quarterbacks, and nobody knows who the starter is. I mean, so it's one of those situations where you're like, man, this is a reason to play the season win under again. I think if you're looking at it, like the Steelers quarterback situation is going to fix itself next week or this week.
I have a question for you, by the way, on the Minshew thing. We'll do it at the break. Here's what I'll say on Pittsburgh. To your point, it was halftime, and there were tweets like, man, they got to give Fields the job. Admittedly, I'd had the closest eye on the game. I'm like, oh, wow, the kid broke out. Awesome.
Right.
He's sitting there. He's like 4 for 5 for about 25 yards at the break. It's like, whoa. Are you kidding me? Like, this is the sample size? I mean, he had like a 20-yard run. And by the way, I think he is the option over Russ. The problem is you basically have to start Russ. That way you can bench him and give Fields the rest of the year. Because if you start Fields and then you have to bench him, then it's a disaster. Because you only gave the kid about 4 or 5 games. The Steelers are in one of the weirder spots we've seen.
Yep.
We're going to hit a break, though. Can Sig sticking around. I have a question for him on Minshew being named starter and those starting quarterback markets and the way those are approached. We'll get to that next with you right here on SportsGrid.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fights. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry.
Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Folks, what a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the target. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double tap. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
All right, we're back with you right here on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh, we're joined by Dave Sharapan. Updated baseball board right now. Numbers are the same since we last talked. 2-0 Mets, 1-0 Blue Jays, 4-1 Diamondbacks. I said I had a question for Dave as it pertains to Gardner Minshew being named starter. And that question is actually about the starting quarterback markets. And Dave, I don't know if you've ever kind of booked them, but I know you know enough about these processes here. Why, with a bet like that, right? They name Minshew the starter. Why do the books hold the money until that game kicks off and Minshew hits the field?
You got to know that he's the starter. It's probably in the house rules. And if it's not, it should be written in the house rules that he has to start game one. So when he comes out, takes the first snap as the starter, you get paid. Anything can happen between now and then. The coach can name him, and he did in Minshew's case. And, you know, I know that people may or may not have gotten down on it before it was taken off. That's good. Just saying. Now we wait. And you got 2 weeks until He comes out, takes that first snap, and then you get the cash. So rooting for you, but we can't grade it now as the book because what if something happens? So if the bet is who will be the starting quarterback week 1 for the Las Vegas Raiders, and you wait and, check that box in the grading system, you're good to go after that. We can't do anything with it before your bet is in limbo. It says pending. So now every time you open up your pending bets, it's probably sitting right there. You're staring at it every day, right?
Yeah. So what's I think interesting though, and why it's very unique. But if it's in limbo, then where'd the market go? I don't know. Where's O'Connell at 100-1 to win the job?
Well, you can turn it back on. I mean, that's at the book's discretion. You can turn it back on, but that would also allow you to arbit or do whatever you need to do. So
Sure.
now we could just take the market down and go, they got us. We don't need to accentuate it worse. I mean, if it wins, it wins. You get paid, and it's fair game. But God forbid, there's a debate or something happens in the last preseason game. I would guess that Minshew won't see much time in the last.
I don't think he'll. I don't think he'll touch the field.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he'll touch the field.
Would you play him if you were, Antonio? Would you play? I would play him.
No, I wouldn't. Now that I, was able to sneak it in, I personally wouldn't even let him practice. I'd actually send him up to the Bahamas. If I'm honest with you, I don't even know if I let him.
You got to learn the
walkthroughs.
playbook. What are you talking about?
Nah, he can bring it with him. He can bring it with him. We'll do Zoom meetings. It's just. I'm telling you, but I've always found markets like this super interesting, right? Because you sit there with a bet like this, and this is just kind of where you talk about. I try and do this, the mindset of a bettor, and you make this bet, and a lot of people are like, man, that's awesome, right? But then you sit there and you're like, all right, so I have to wait 3 weeks for this, and if they give it for me, I didn't accomplish anything, right? It's like I just clicked the correct button. I didn't accomplish a thing. And if it loses, it's the dumbest money I've ever lost in my entire life.
That's the best line you've ever said. That's pretty good because you really will feel like, what am I doing? Like you start to question a lot of things if this one doesn't get there, and you go, all right, I might be done with that betting. It's a limited market, and some books choose not to put them up. If they put them up, more power to them. You have to monitor those things. And those markets that move on information, social media, and different things like that, hardest stuff for the book to manage. And some guys on the other side of the counter will take that personal. Like, that guy beat me. He usually bets $20 and he bet a dime on that. I'm going to put him in a bucket and mark his account and blah, 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 blah. It's business. You got the best of it. That's fine.
I tell you, it's funny, man. Like, I always wonder with stuff like this, like the Paul Skeen stuff we talked about, right?
Yeah.
They never throw the cash out. Like, I still want, throw the cash out on the Minshew thing. Save yourself $20. I'll probably let you off the hook, right? I'll give you another one, Dave. By the way, listen, it's not going to be worth a damn thing at the end of the day, but, I mean, you know it's the third best odds to an American League Cy Young? Who used to be 200-1 to win that award?
Right now was third best odds is Paul Skeens, no?
No, American League.
American League was 200.
You remember?
Class A? Class A? Ha ha ha. Yeah, ha ha ha.
Listen.
Now we're talking.
This is one of those things, man. And we'll see what the end result is, right? I don't know how to so Skeens 200-1, he got as low as about 2-1, right?
Be honest,
Class A 200-1, he's now has the third best odds.
Can he win it?
I don't know. People tell me no. I mean, here's the crazy thing. Probably not, right? But what happened to all these? I got a cash out still sitting on my phone for the Trey Turner MVP bet. Give me the cash out on the Class A bet. Give me what you owe me. I don't understand. I don't understand.
We'll email customer service. We'll see if we
Yeah,
can.
they forgot. They were. But it's such an interesting thing with betting. And I'll be honest, I've seen these before, but this year, especially with the baseball, I try to apply it a little bit more. Did it a little bit last year in the NFL. There were a few different spots. But I guess the theory is, if you can take enough 200 to 1s into the top 3 odds of a market, eventually you only need to hit one of them for it to be worth it. So can 1 out of 100 of the guys get home? And then I guess you've done your job. But it's funny. Like, I see it and I don't even get excited. But that's because Skeens hardened me on everything. That's kind of the issue there. Dave's going to stick around. I got a WNBA thing for King Sig before he gets out of here. He should know where I'm going. We'll be right back.
What has happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fight. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. One left hand from Rockhold. Right hand right back from Mike Perry.
Could I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. We'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the top. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this thing all the way to the top now.
We're back with you right here. We're live on SportsGrid. We're making it happen with Dave Sharapan. I mentioned we wanted to bring up the WNBA because quite a bit of movement in the WNBA championship market. At one point, the Indiana Fever were 100 to 1. All hope was lost. They've played 2 games since the All-Star break, Dave. They are
pretty good,
30
too.
to 1.
Yep.
They're 30 to 1. Just for the record, the preseason number was 23 to 1.
Correct.
The preseason cap was Caitlin Clark will be a top 10 player in this league. Check. And their best basketball will be played as the year goes on. A 2-10. What were they? 3-10. They're now 13-15. Pretty good. 10-5 over the last 15 games. Pretty good.
Can we make the playoffs? First question. Can we make the playoffs?
100%. Huge favorites to make.
First round matchup would be who? The Liberty?
That I'm going to listen. Hand up. I do not know. Right now, they're the 7 seed. I don't know if that draws you Connecticut because I don't know if they do East-West like that.
Okay.
I'm being honest. I haven't.
Yeah, they do East West. So we got to
Well,
get
at that
out
point,
of the East
then
first. So it's either Connecticut or the Liberty, right? I think
no.
that's what it is.
Oh yeah. So they play Connecticut. I'll take that. Right?
I've been watching the games at home, and they were. I mean, that was fun on Sunday. I got caught down at the book at Circa, and it was on the one screen right directly in front of me, and there were people in the book like cheering because they had bet them, and so I was watching a game, and like, I don't want to say it's coming together, K-Dub, but it looks like it's coming together. This playing your best basketball at the end. There's a lot to that. It looks like it's working.
I mean, again, the first 13 games they're 3-10. Since that point, they're 10-5. That's 15 games. That's a bigger sample size. It's the more recent sample size. And by the way, that's 10-5 is a 60% win percentage.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
That's pretty good.
You can. So that's just. By the way, they were 1-9, 1-8. I mean, it's been even better than that. So,
yeah.
Look, we'll see. We'll
just get them in. Just get them in. Like all these tickets and these things we talk about. Just you and I just get together every Monday, Tuesday, and then throw out these tickets and talk about you. It's good numbers. Just get in.
There's a Heisman one coming. We'll get there.
Oh,
I'm figuring out, because we do the CFT on Saturday. That's when we do all the futures. But I can't not give the crowd here at least a treat. I don't know. Do we do title? Do we do Heisman? There's a big Heisman one out there, Dave. There's a big one.
40-1 or higher. Triple digits, K-Dub?
We're a little under that. We're a little under that. We're a little under that.
We're
a little under that.
Do we tease this and wait for tomorrow for this, or are you going to close the show with it?
Maybe we'll do Thursday. Thursday. I want to give people the rest of the baseball card. Dave,
Perfect.
Great stuff as always. In-game live, where he'll be covering that Red Sox game going up against the Houston Astros, where we like that Red Sox team total over 3.5. That number's at -115. Like the righties in that lineup against Kikuchi, a lefty himself. I know he's been good for Houston, but I think he can struggle. We're also on under 9 Rangers Pirates in that game, as well as under 9 Royals Angels. Looking for some bounce backs there. Fulmer, Lugo, and then Dunning and Ortiz. I did take that Rays money line. Listen, could be a little square spot, but this Tampa team's killing me. They don't stop winning. But I got to get involved with Tampa Bay -125 with Taj Bradley. And you might have heard Dave. I mean, come on, White Sox plus a 1.5. I like this cannon. This kid's got moxie. To be honest with you, he might be the second best pitcher on the Yankees if we had him right now. Can't stand that ball club, my oh my. Well, I'm just saying, Jonathan Cannon's got juice, baby. I know the Yankees said him. We might let Jonathan Cannon close. We could have let what's his name close, Crochet. He could have opened and closed for us, man. Are you kidding me? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Don't forget that Jackson Merrill hits, runs, RBIs. That's Sizzle City right there on the kid Jackson Merrill. So we've got that at -125. That's your baseball board. I'm excited, man. I will make a promise. We will not forget baseball on Game Time decisions. That's my promise to you. I'll see you tomorrow, Dinger Tuesday.